direct all my comments to Mayor Pulaski, Mr. Weitzel, City Council, and the Trexler Trust. There's a sign down at Cedar Beach that says this plan received intensive input. I submit that the size of this crowd is testimony that it did not receive excessive input or much input at all. Rather than the end discussion being tonight, actually the whole debate should start tonight. It shouldn't end tonight. I also must say that I was a little bit disturbed outside to see signs referring to segregation, discrimination, and even inclusion. I don't think it's fair at all to label people who have concerns about the park plan as subscribing to any of these forms of ism. I don't believe that's appropriate. Everybody is in favor of a playground. The question is where it's going to be, the size and the scope. 19,000 square feet is rather large if it's for 200 children or 567 children. Many of us have a concern that if Mayfair is even going to retain its current size, it's going to have to expand over Ott Street to do this. We also question the walkway being paved and lights being installed. Let me interrupt myself. Mr. Weitzel, you mentioned there'll be lights at the pavilion at the Rose Garden. Will there also be lights on the walkway?
Which walkway are you referring to?
Well, I think you referred to it as the life path walkway that goes around the west side of Cedar Beach.
We are not proposing any new lights on the west side other than at the picnic grove.
I'm glad to hear that. It was underwater today and I wouldn't want to see anyone changing the bulbs. I also have to say there was some reference to the master plan that was created in Philadelphia for the Trexler Trust. We should acknowledge that that master plan recommends less usage of Cedar Beach, not more. We also have to be realistic. Allentown has just laid off 39 employees. How will that affect maintenance? Mr. Weitzel testified that he believes that these enhanced renovations will instill so much pride in people that they will leave less litter and create less work. That's hard to believe. Let me also say that a lot of surface is going to be covered over. We're talking about paving the parking lot at the Parks Office building, which is now stone. That's increasing the impervious surface. I also take a little exception, Mr. Garidi, with using the term that people were misinformed. I don't think we're necessarily misinformed. That's a matter of opinion. I must also mention that Mr. Howes and Mr. Schwer were not at the committee meeting that Mr. Phillips conducted on Parks and Recreation.
Mr. Molovinsky, your time has expired, so I'm going to have to ask you to wrap it up, please.
Okay, I have one last question then for Mr. Weitzel. Could you please tell me a little more about what you referred to as the arbor in the Rose Garden? I understand you're not building a wedding pavilion, but what exactly is the arbor?
4 stone pillars with 2x4 cross sections.
How large will it be?
8 feet tall. Chuck, do you?
Yeah, it spans between the existing rose garden beds where the rose gardens come together. Essentially, there's an arbor there now. It's going to fill in that gap. I think there's a picture of it right there.
Would it be covered?
There's a lattice work on top. It's a 1 beam, and there's lattice cross beams. The whole structure itself is no wider than 2 feet.
I see. All righty. Thank you.
Mr. Donovan is going to point to it.